one picture at a time, and I tried to make that picture really great. And then it was sort of like, well, okay, I made a good picture. I'll put it there, put it over there against the refrigerator, and that's great. But this is sort of, when I work this way, I create my own world. I create a complete environment, and people are able to walk into it. So they're walking into a painting, and the paintings have been getting bigger and bigger in terms of more and more paintings. So I almost think of you're walking into a sculpture of mine. And as years go on, I'm really interested in the architecture of the exhibition and how to break up the space. And the paintings for me are souvenirs that people buy, but the organization of the space is what really gets me excited this time. These last few years, I came in, I ordered a whole bunch of plywood, ordered a whole bunch of 1x2s, and then I didn't know. I think I was emailed the image of the gallery, but I never really think ahead of time. I never really look at what's happening because it's always totally different. It's like I could have gotten here, there could have been like brown shag carpeting on the wall or something, and I would have had to just create, respond to that. And I think if I plan it too much, it sort of feels like I did it already, so what's the point of doing it? But it's sort of the battle of just like coming here and just building it, in 2 days. It's exhilarating that I survived because it's a marathon, and I'm not working today. I go home today from the airport back to Brooklyn at 5, but most days I would come in between 6 and 6:30 and stay to 7, 7:30. And so I'm pretty burnt right now, but it's pretty exhilarating because I did really well, money-wise, so it's fun. And it also, the more money I make, the more the gallery makes, and it's, and the more the gallery makes, the more the people that sell the paint to me, the more Lowe's gets for their lumber. So it's a good feeling. It's like the more everybody kind of, is in it together. But trying to think, it's exciting, and at the same time, there's never enough time to do the paintings, and I'm always stressing. I see the flaws of the paintings, but what I see as flaws might be what people really enjoy about my work in some parts, because there's a few paintings here that I think, wow, that's the most beautiful painting I've ever painted, and it'll sit here. It's always like my favorite picture will be here, the last, nobody wants it, and the picture that I think, oh, I can't believe it, I better stick it in the dumpster out back. That's like one of the first to go kind of feeling. So I've learned to accept, the flaws, that the not editing yourself, just kind of cranking it out, because I'm almost not the judge of my work. I create these situations, and people are able to be part of it, and they find what they like about it. But the more I do it, the more I've learned, it's like, don't edit yourself. And that becomes harder and harder, because when I first started doing this, it was so exhilarating. I almost didn't look at what I did. I just painted these things. I just painted them. And now, you can't help but, you're more reflective about it because I've been doing this for so long. And so you can't help but judge yourself, even though you shouldn't. But, let's see, I've got 1,000 paintings, and I think I sold about 800 so far, and I painted between 400 and 500 this week, so it's not too much, in the scheme of things, there's not too much left for a show today. So, the idea is that the show's supposed to be up for until the end of January, and there'll be, people can see the murals that I painted, and that's sort of the mess area that I made over there. And I think of my painting area, that zone, it's just as interesting as the paintings. I like to be able to show where it all came from. Show it's my little bullfighting ring right there. But, I don't know, what should I say?
Does anyone have questions? I have a question. How much downtime do you take afterwards? Like, will you go back and not paint for a week?
No, I don't. This has been, whenever I work through a gallery, is it's more lucrative for me. The prices here, we set the prices a little higher just to slow down the amount of work that would go out the gallery. Like if I sell at a rock show, or if I'm doing like a promotional event, the paintings are like $2, $3, $4, $5. So in some ways, I don't make enough money to not work all the time. I mean, I get to do a lot of good things because of this. In the past 10 years, I've gotten to do a lot of traveling. I've had shows long shows that lasted for 2 months at a time in Cologne, Germany, and in Melbourne, Australia, and Los Angeles, and Houston. Things that have really been just terrific experiences just because I've sort of worked all the time. And I do believe I kind of make my own luck as excruciating, as excruciating as it is, like to work this much. When a show goes well, like a show like this show, it's not about going well because of the money. It's about going well because so many people have come out to see it. It's really exhilarating and it gives you energy. But I mean, I'm at more of a measured pace at home. I have a website that I sell my work, and I have, it's more like regular hours. But we've got 2 kids now, so I'm sort of doing all this manic painting, and at the same time picking the kids up and taking them to ballet and taking them to gymnastics and things like that. So it's like I'm trying to do this out of control event and live a normal life too. And kind of my work is sort of, it's not going to change, but this was working this way was a response to growing up. I was already early middle age when I started doing this, but to the creativity of a lot of friends of mine who are in bands, and the amount of energy that goes into promoting yourself in a band and traveling around and hauling your equipment around. And it was something that seemed so different than being a painter. A painter is you put yourself in your studio and you worry about what kind of light you have. And I mean, I'm not knocking these things, but it wasn't for me. It felt too cloistered, and I just felt I wanted to make work that was in the real world. And things in the real world they move all the time. They're not something that you do and then you put it away or you lock it up someplace. I started this before people had websites, and before people had websites, they Xeroxed information like fanzines and got it out to record stores and got it, in bookstores. And it was sort of like, well, gosh, why don't I just get my paintings out in the world like that? So I'll practically give them away, and everybody, it's like, even if they don't like it, it's like, oh, it's $2, I better not refuse, it's like, it's a painting. Which, it's a painting, but for me, it's like a product. It's a thing. It's a trading cards. I know it's art. For me, the art is when people come and are involved in the experience of this, but each piece is not like a precious work of art. I'm grateful that people want to hang them, but if I think of it as art, then I'm too frozen somehow to, not edit myself with it.
What bands have you worked with or currently work with, and how much is music a part of your work?
Music is not a part of my work, but I mean, I've always, we used to be DJs on TJU, my wife and I.
Me too.
It's not as if I don't, I like to listen to NPR when I paint. I don't listen to music. Because if you're alone all day painting, you want to hear other voices. It's like if you're working in an office, you don't want to hear anybody. You just want to have play your music, because oh my God, I sit in the office. I don't want to hear these people around me. But at home, there's nobody, so I want to hear talking. So it's a weird thing. But I've done like indie rock bands like Pavement, the Apples and Stereo. I've done like album covers for, and it's like even right now, my paintings are on the Dave Matthews merchandise website for like special Christmas paintings. So I like that my art serves a purpose. I've done so many things for promotion, like I did, like a few years ago, I did 2,000 paintings for Capitol Records Christmas party and just things like that. I just, just small paintings, and I constantly do stuff for people.